It's the Galaxy Fold 6 versus the Galaxy Fold 5. There's going to be a few of these type videos coming up as we compare the Fold 5, the Flip 6, and the Razr Plus against what has been out currently and their previous generations. An interesting conversation here. It's not so much would you upgrade your 5 and get a 6. A lot of people did. I know in the comment section, you're by and large happy with your decision to do that. I agree. I think you see more improvements here than meet the eye. In fact, or maybe there aren't. Maybe what meets the eye and the hand is kind of what the improvements are, but they're significant nonetheless. You know, you look at it year over year, and it's kind of like the frog in boiling water. When you look at a Fold 5 versus a Fold 6, you say, well, that's not a huge departure. When you look at a Fold 4 versus a Fold 5, well, that's not a huge departure. But when you take a Fold 2, which I've spent a significant amount of time with, which I had used for, 18 months because I skipped the Fold 3, you see a significant difference in these designs. That's why I think it's incredibly lazy analysis when people are saying, well, it's been the same design for 4 years. Oh, you're paying all that money for the same design. You could say that about almost every cell phone on the planet that's mildly successful. They're successful for a reason. Companies don't take a successful design or something that worked and say, you know what? Next year, we're scrapping it. We're starting from scratch. How idiotic would that be? Use your head. If there's something that works, the Samsung Fold being the most successful fold, in the world, whatever the numbers, the sales figures come out to be. If you have a product like that you have a bunch of people who know and love, you're not going to just throw that out the window and start over again. You're going to slowly make refinements over the years until you finally get to something like the Fold 6. Now, this does feel like a finished product as opposed to the Fold 5. I always felt, even from the first one, that the Fold devices never really lost that baby fat, that like kind of beta feel to them. This device, it just didn't speak to me. They don't speak to me. I get it; they're the most reliable, but this design, kind of the rounded off and whatever else, just didn't fit my eye as well as some of the other devices like the Fold 6. So let's talk about it. Front display is where you're going to notice the biggest improvement, I think. Whether it is or not, it's the extra millimeter, I think. These two designs play very, very differently in use in your hand. If you could just eyeball it, that's an extra millimeter, okay? But when you're talking about when you're dealing in millimeters, as you can see on the left side of the screen there, or the left side of the displays, it makes a difference. That's really nice for your thumbs. It's really nice for scrolls. Is it going to be as large? People are saying, oh, it's still the aspect ratio of like an Xperia, the old Xperias, when they were tall and thin. I get that. But that's what people like about the Fold 6. Some of the things that we complained about, like, oh, well, the OnePlus Open's wider on the front, Pixel Fold's wider on the front, those Vivo devices are wider on the front. I get that. But you'll see a lot of pushback from people, more than I thought, that say, you know what, I like the Fold 6 because it has that compact form factor that I get enough on the outer display to make it worth my time and to use it. But then I could open it up and get the larger display when I need it. And you can see that it's that extra 3 millimeters on the inside makes a difference. I prefer the landscape orientation a little bit. So you can see it there. It's kind of more stark when you line them up like that. You can see how the Fold 6 leans a little bit into the landscape orientation, but not as heavily as some of these other devices, not these Oppo Find devices, not the Pixel Fold, the first generation Pixel Fold. I think this is a really nice blend of the two, where you get enough of that landscape so videos look a little bit better, websites look a little bit better, apps that are meant for the landscape look a little bit better than this up top, but you still aren't selling out completely. So you get a nice kind of square almost design on the Fold 6 as opposed to the Fold 5. Then there's the aesthetics in the hand. I happen to like the Fold 6 a lot. I like the squared off design. If you're somebody that doesn't like the squared off design, then you're going to favor the Fold 5. The hinge is significantly improved on the Fold 6. Not that this was a bad hinge. This still feels solid on your Fold 5. You're going to have no problems with it. But it does feel a little mechanical at this point. This hinge on the Fold 6 feels really smooth. Snaps into place, secure, just a more even travel all the way across the fold 180 degrees and 180 degrees back, you're really having a nice, smooth experience, whereas opposed to, not herky-jerky over here on the Fold 5, but you put them in your hand, you're going to notice a difference between the two. Performance and all that stuff is going to be relatively unchanged. You're not going to ditch your Fold 5 over performance. When I was using this to kind of prepare for the video, really snappy, no problems. You're not going to notice problems for years. You're still going to have issues with no issues with gaming. The RAM is still there. The displays are still gorgeous. You still have S Pen support on the internal display. There's lots of reasons why you'd keep your Fold 5. But for the people who did upgrade or the people who are thinking of upgrading, there are absolute reasons why you'd pick up a Fold 6. Battery life is going to be comparable. I think they've kind of dialed that in. They haven't really made a lot of changes there. Here's where I land on it. Already have a Fold 5, don't trade in on a Fold 6 unless you got one of those deals, unless you're an enthusiast, unless you're somebody that just absolutely has to have the latest and greatest, or you were somebody who was waiting for Samsung to get to this point. You were kind of suffering through these designs. You liked One UI, you liked the reliability of Samsung. You just wanted them to get to something that was a little bit more like the devices from overseas. Is this anything like those widescreen Vivos and all the rest of it? Absolutely not. Did I expect them to go in that direction? Absolutely not as well, because you're not going to alienate the people who already like the Fold. However, it does feel different. It does feel finished. It does feel like a more modern device. So don't listen to the people say, it's the same device for 4 years. It's the same design. The hardware is outdated. This doesn't feel like dated hardware in your hand. It doesn't look like a dated design, and it's nice and clean lines. It feels good. It's crisp. I like this design a heck of a lot, and I think it's a major improvement over the Fold 5. If you're coming from an earlier Fold, different story, upgrade and get your Fold 6, reset the support, and all the rest of it. If you're eyeing these two, if you're saying, look, there's a bunch of these new ones out there now, or 1-year-old ones that are going to be on sale for $1,000, $1,200, might you want to save some money and pick up a Fold 5? Look, if you're on a tight budget, you'll have no problem picking up a Fold 5. You'll enjoy it. It'll be great. They'll be the ones that are coming in are either new old stock or they were leased or something like that. So you're going to get some great deals on a Fold 5. So I would not shy away from it hardware-wise. In previous years, if you were getting like a used Fold 4 or Fold 3 or Fold 2, I had a little bit more hesitation, okay? Because they were still, not immature devices is the wrong term, but they were still newer devices, Fold devices. You don't know how people treat Fold devices. There's more variables there. Year-old Fold 5s or new old stock Fold 5s, I think you can have a little bit more confidence there in saving a few bucks. But if you can afford it, if it's not a budget thing, get a Fold 6. You put them both in your hand, you're going to like the Fold 6 significantly more. You're going to get the updated support. You're going to have the upgrades. You're going to have the wider internal display, the wider external display. I think there's a lot more you're going to like about your Fold 6 than you did about the Fold 5. But if it's a matter of saving $600, you might still look at the Fold 5. So overall, like I said, I really like the changes that Samsung made. It don't fall into the trap of the lazy analysis of, it's just the same. It's just the same. It just keeps being the same. They're not the same. It might look the same. It might be the same general outlay of the phone because that's just what Samsung is going for with these devices, but they're not the same device. There are significant differences, especially in design, for the Fold 6. You could do a lot and still have it look like a phone, like the same phone. But again, you're not going to, a company with half a brain is going to take a design, and like I said, a lot of people prefer the compact design. They don't want this huge outer display because that means a huge inner display. They don't want to throw off the aspect ratio of the device that they know and love. So keep that in mind. There are plenty of people who are fighting against your change. Samsung knows that, and that's why every year you're going to get a little bit more. So while you can't even recognize the Fold 2 anymore if you were to use these two devices, next year a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more down the line until we finally get to a more modern device. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.